Level 1. Kaiju Cleanup Worker. We meet Kafka at 32 years old, and he is not living the dream. Back when he was a kid, he and his childhood friend Mina Ashiro made a promise to join the defense force together and fight kaiju side by side. Kafka actually tried. He took the entrance exam over and over. The guy failed it more than 30 times, and eventually just gave up on the dream entirely. So now he's working for a kaiju corpse disposal company, basically the unglamorous cleanup crew that shows up after the real soldiers do their job, hauling away kaiju remains so the city can function again. Here's the thing, though. At this level, Kafka has zero combat ability. No powers, no weapon training, nothing special physically. But years of cleaning up kaiju bodies up close has given him something nobody else really has: an insane practical knowledge of kaiju anatomy, weak points, and behavior. That knowledge doesn't seem important yet. It becomes everything later. It also stings extra hard because Mina, the friend he made that childhood promise with, actually made it. She's now a full captain leading the 3rd Division of the Defense Force, while Kafka's out here scrubbing kaiju guts off the pavement. That gap between where he wanted to be and where he ended up is the entire emotional engine of his early arc. Level 2. Defense Force Candidate. The turning point comes when Kafka meets Rino Ichikawa, a young guy chasing the exact dream Kafka gave up on. Reconnecting with Rino and seeing Mina again, now a full captain commanding the 3rd Division, lights a fire under Kafka that's been dead for years. He decides to take the entrance exam one more time at 32, with guys half his age. At this level, he's still just a human. No transformation, no kaiju power, nothing supernatural. What he's got is willpower, years of physical labor that kept him in decent shape, and that deep practical kaiju knowledge from his cleanup days. It's the most normal version of Kafka we ever see, and it's important because everything that comes after is built on top of this foundation. Level 3. Rookie Defense Force Officer. Now here's where the timeline gets interesting, because technically the next stage I'm about to talk about happens during this exam. But let's separate the human side first. Kafka actually crushes the written and physical portions of the exam. Dude scores near the very top of his group, which honestly shocks everyone who remembers him as a washed-up cleanup guy. He officially gets placed into the 3rd Division, working directly under Captain Mina Ashiro and Vice Captain Soshiro Hoshina. This is Kafka as a standard Defense Force officer. Government-issued vibroweapon, official uniform, the whole package. He's surrounded by other strong recruits like Kikoru Shinomiya and his new friend Iharu Furuhashi. On paper, he's just a rookie, but he's hiding the biggest secret in the entire series. Level 4, Kaiju No. 8 Awakening. During the survival portion of that very exam, a small flying kaiju creature shoves itself directly into Kafka's mouth and fuses with his body. This is the actual origin of his power. It's not training, it's not a bloodline, it's this bizarre, almost gross moment that completely rewrites what he is. From that point on, Kafka can transform into a kaiju at will. The very first time he uses it is to save Rino's life from a real kaiju attack during the exam. In this form, he gets monstrous strength, claws, fangs, a healing factor that lets him shrug off wounds that would kill a normal soldier, and raw physical durability nothing human could match. We're talking a towering, muscular kaiju body with white horns and a striking red and black coloring, completely unlike the typical mindless kaiju the Defense Force is used to fighting. People who witness it immediately clock that this thing moves and fights with a kind of intelligence and restraint normal kaiju just don't have. This is the baseline Kaiju No. 8, strong enough to take down real threats. But Kafka now lives with a secret that could get him executed by the very organization he just joined, since the Defense Force exists specifically to kill things like what he's become. Level 5, Berserk Kaiju No. 8. Here's the danger nobody talks about enough. Kafka's transformation isn't free. The longer he stays in kaiju form, or the more power he pushes through it, the more he risks losing himself to pure instinct. It's described as a real possibility that he could go fully feral, lose his mind to the kaiju side completely, and never come back as Kafka again. This isn't a throwaway threat either. It's brought up multiple times as the actual ceiling on how far he can push the power without supervision. This is the scariest version of Kafka because the threat isn't an external enemy. It's himself. Everyone close to him who eventually learns the truth, Hoshina included, treats this as a genuine, ongoing concern, not a one-time scare. The more battles he survives by leaning on the kaiju side, the more that line gets tested. Level 6. Controlled Berserk Kaiju number 8. This is where Hoshina becomes massively important. Once he figures out Kafka's secret, instead of turning him in, he starts training him specifically to control the line between human and kaiju instinct. Through that training, Kafka learns to pull more power out of his Kaiju No. 8 form without losing his mind to it. Hoshina pushes him through brutal sparring sessions, forcing him to fight back while transformed and stay sharp instead of just swinging on instinct. And Kafka starts learning to dial his power output up and down on purpose instead of just going full force every single time. This is the version of Kafka that actually starts competing with serious threats, higher-numbered kaiju, more dangerous enemies. Because now he's combining raw kaiju strength with actual human tactics and memory. He's not just swinging wildly anymore. He's thinking inside the transformation, which honestly is the scariest combination in the whole series. Monster-tier power with a trained soldier's brain still attached. Fighting alongside teammates like Iharu and Kikoru in this state, he's finally pulling real weight as a Defense Force officer instead of just barely surviving. Level 7. Evolved Kaiju number 8, Final Form. As the story pushes forward and Kafka faces increasingly dangerous numbered kaiju, his transformation keeps evolving past that original rough, almost feral form he started with. He becomes more efficient with the power, refining how he uses it instead of just brute forcing every fight. This evolved state lets him stand toe-to-toe with threats that would have ended him back at level 4 or 5, all while keeping his personality and control intact the entire time. What makes this progression so satisfying is that it's earned. Kafka isn't handed strength. He survives long enough, trains hard enough, and pushes through enough near-death situations to actually grow into this power instead of just having it dropped on him. By this point, even people who don't know his secret start noticing that whatever's helping the 3rd Division win these fights is operating on a completely different level than your average officer, and that quiet respect he earns hits different knowing what he's actually hiding underneath it. That's the full breakdown of Kafka Hibino's evolution, from a guy nobody respected to one of the most unpredictable forces in the entire series. If you want more Kaiju No, 8 power scaling and character breakdowns, you already know what to do. Like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.